going forward, and it's like a fork in the road. It's like one way can lead to lethal, and the other way can lead to a complete blowout. But he's comfortable making those plays. That's one of the things I love the most about watching Gnimsh play is he goes for these really powerful blowout spots that a lot of other players wouldn't go for, myself included. But I've learned a lot watching him. It's sort of what helped mold my Druid play is that he's so aggressive with everything that I've learned to adapt that style. And while I don't quite do it as well as he does, he's really hit the nail on the head with it. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him pull out Zoo here. I think Zoo has an unfavorable matchup versus Miracle Rogue. If your opponent has something as simple as just a backstab and SI7 engine, they chew your whole board apart. But at the same time, it could be a handlock because that's something a lot of people aren't familiar that he's known with or is known for is he's a very strong handlock player. And so it can kind of go either way. But banning out Miracle when you have a handlock in your lineup might not be the best option. So I think it's a Zoo, but we'll have to see.
All right, well, we'll see what's going to happen in game number 1 with these guys' clash choices. Gnimsh versus Semijew. I don't know if I can just peg at one person to favorite, but I'm going to say Gnimsh has been taking this way more seriously. For IEM Shenzhen, he was telling me, he didn't really feel that prepared. He was kind of waiting for Nax. He was on that verge of, he really wanted to play well, but at the same time, it was really difficult to kind of motivate himself. But now that Nax is out, he's been super pumped. He's been staying up night and day to practice, play the wings, get the cards, and test them out with Cloud9. Cloud9's been testing extensively. Shrivecrow, Gnimsh, Kalento, all of them. Great deck builders, great players. And he told me he's ready to go. Semijew, meanwhile, he told me that he really wanted to perform well too and prove that he's not just one of those guys on MYM. Because MYM, they're known for Tice and RDU, right? You don't really think about Semijew or Blazing Glory or Ignite as much as they're great players. So let's find out what's going to happen. It's going to be Shaman versus Zoo. And Shaman gets a really big card right off the bat. He has a Lightning Storm.
Wow, you know what? The Nerubian Egg is something I'm kind of surprised to see in the Shaman deck. But when I think about it, with cards like Defender of Argus, that guy becomes great. And the other thing, too, is, like you were saying, Flame Tongue Totem. And this is sort of a more niche play, but you could also just Fire Elemental your own Nerubian Egg to make a 4/4.
Yeah.
Which is a really big swing of power. Yeah.
That's precisely right. I think the versatility, because I saw a live coach play Nerubian Egg, and he was just telling me, if you just have a Rock Biter, it's such good anti-aggro, because Rock Biter normally trades 1-for-1, right? There's no real case where you can use it to apply for 2-for-1. But in this case, when you combine it with Nerubian Egg, you get like a 3-for-2, or 2-for-3 rather, and then in which case you can often get a really good trade with that. So really good synergy all throughout the deck of Shaman. That's really nice, I think it's really smart.
I really would like to see him life tap here. He's got 2 Soulfires in his hand, which kind of sucks, and he's gonna get some value out of this Abusive Sergeant either way. But the value he gets out of it by holding it, I think, is a lot more. Because what could have happened is he could have life tapped his turn. And now going into his turn 3, he could have played this Abusive Sergeant on his Ardent Squire, cleared out one of these Wolves, Soulfired the other one, and then either have a second life tap or whatever 2-drop he drew, or potentially 1-drop. I actually think this is a little bit of a sequencing error.
But then he would be stuck with card. Well, I guess that you hoping you toss away something more useless than like the Harvest Golem. But I think now we'll see if it's going to be able to pay off, because Gnimsh did hold it.
Goodness gracious, look at Semi's hand.
Yeah, double Lightning Storm.
That's going to be a tough one.
He's got Feral Spirits, a second one too. I was just saying that he just played one. He has both Feral Spirits, both Lightning Storms.
Yeah, I want to touch a little bit. I want to touch a little bit on this Void Terror too. By the way, this is showing up a lot in Zoo lately, and the reason this card is in here is because you want to Void Terror your own Nerubian Eggs. The second thing it does is because you're playing Nerubian Egg, you're also often playing Power Overwhelming. So Power Overwhelming is a card that helps not only push through damage, but it can help beat up these taunts. So if you use a Power Overwhelming on a minion to clear out a bigger minion, and then you absorb it with Void Terror, you get 5 or 6 power out of your Void Terror, and it ends up being a lot of stats for your opponent to have to go through. And as you were saying with Flame Tongue Totem, this Nerubian Egg now is a legitimately big threat. And this is a spot that Gnimsh certainly did not want to find himself in. I'm really surprised he didn't use a Soulfire last turn.
Yeah, well, we'll see if he discards this Void Terror. If he does, he has a ton of tap, or maybe he's used second Soulfire and see where he goes from there. Either one, that's what it just stinks, that to discard this early and see what he gets.
Wow, this is really bad news.
Oh, he loses the Void Terror. Oh, well, I guess he can use second Soulfire.
Wow, I'm really curious he chooses to use the life tap. I would have used the other Soulfire there.
Yeah, I think so, because then you can go for the board. But he's probably saving it for something very specific then.
Wow, Semijew's hand is really good. I don't know if Gnimsh is going to be able to chew through all this.
Because even if he puts out a big threat like Doomguard, just gonna get hexed right there.
Yeah. Semi's kind of got all the answers, but this is a matchup that I used to think was really kind of in favor of Zoo. And the more I played it, the more I realized that Shaman has a lot of powerful cards that can disrupt you along the way. And this is certainly one of those hands that gets the job done, because like, what on earth does Gnimsh do now?
Well, he has second Void Terror and the Power Overwhelming, like you mentioned, but then that's just that's fodder for Earth Shocks and Hex.
You know what?
This Shaman has.
This actually is not that bad of a spot for him either. He can Power Overwhelming this Harvest Golem. He puts the Harvest Golem into one of these 2/3s. He plays the Void Terror, absorbs the Harvest Golem, gets a 2/1 out of it. He Soulfires the other one, and then runs his Argent Squire into the 1/1 Totem to help protect this 2/1 Golem. So he's actually going to get a little bit of a board control here, and he's going to have a really big Void Terror to show for it, because that thing is almost certainly going to get hexed, because you can't lightning from that. So now his Doom Guard is active when he draws them again. This has been a really fortunate series of events for Gnimsh. But that's the other thing he's known for, is that the Gnimsh luck, man, it is really tough to account for.
He's been saving it up.
And it's
been
tough
saving
to
it
battle.
up because he said at the previous tournaments he's been getting a little unlucky. I think he says he's due for some good RNG. So we'll see if that's going to pay off. He does get the Hex out, but at least it's out of the way. Now if he top decks something like Doomguard, his opponent's going to have a really tough time dealing with it. But he gets a Flame Imp and he gets the Haunted Creeper instead. That's going to be pretty susceptible.
I got some really bad news for Aquatics coming up here. Your opponent's got Violet Teacher, Lightning Storm. So, now that Semijew is going to have an extra Lightning Storm in his hand, a Defender of Argus, and 3 minions on the board, I don't know what Gnimsh is going to be able to do to climb out of this. Semi has had all of the right answers this game.
He's going to have to just start from scratch once again. Well, he's going to have these 1/1s. And he can do, I guess he can at least take out the Violet Apprentices and then try to work from that point on. But he still needs to draw big. He needs to get something huge, take out this Violet Teacher.
Oh my god.
And that's not what he needed.
That Violet Teacher is about to rain terror on this game. Jeez Lou.
Especially with Defender of Argus coming out, or potentially coming out. I don't want to kind of coin anything too quickly, but it's going to be really tough again. Zoo can handle the resets. They can handle 1, maybe even 2 resets, but with constant trading and this Violet Teacher not in danger of dying anytime soon, with 2 Soulfires already being used, it's going to get increasingly more difficult for Gnimsh because Semijew's got two insurances here.
Yep. This is, wow. Wow, he's got creepers of his... That's sort of really... It's really interesting. That works really well with Flame Tongue Totem. I really like the Shaman builds coming out.
Do you push out the Nerubian here? You use the Defender of Argus and then try to just trade and get out the 4/4?
Seems like the right play to me.
Instruction begins.
That, on the other hand, that's a really strange play. I think I would have liked to see him just hold the Violet Teacher there and protect his Violet Teacher with the 1/3 egg.
He could be thinking that he wants a way to kind of activate this egg either way. Oh, with Shadow Flame. I was kind of wondering if he plays Hellfire or Shadow Flame in the Zoo deck. Some Zoos kind of favorite. Not only is it really effective, obviously, to get past walls, but it's just ridiculous in the mirror. If you have like a Shadow Flame early on and you have like a Nerubian, just kind of go for the clear. You just win the mirror right there.
Yeah,
Power Overwhelming. Yeah, it makes so much sense. But then it's like, are you really playing Zoo, or are you just playing Zoo Lock, right? You're just a couple Molten Giants away from just making
But what do you do here now? It's like, are you going to clear the egg? Are you going to not clear it?
And then stare down 2 4-attack creatures?
I don't know if he's getting out of this one.
He already uses Power Overwhelming as well, so it's not going to be easy. And that's, again, this is the potency of the Nerubian egg based off Nax Randus. We're seeing it live in action.
What can Dark Quantics draw? Gnimsh has got to have something in his deck that can get him out of this, right? Right?
A Sylvanas? What? Wait. What? Oh, wait, I was kind of joking about how he's a few cards off from playing Handlock, but I didn't expect this.
I don't know if he can... I don't know if I like this life tap here.
Yeah, he puts him within a critical range. His opponent has,
that's
what,
gonna be game.
7, 9, 10?
That's lethal.
His opponent's got 10 damage. I think it was kind of inconsequential either way because the Lightning Bolt was 13. But, you kind of put yourself at an opponent where he can just do 1 damage. It's very, very simple.
You know what else? Is Void Tearing a Sylvanas is actually kind of a cute play. But wow, Void over to Semijew. What a great
You have the Power Overwhelming, you have the Shadow Flame, you have the Void Terror. Ways to kind of activate the Sylvanas. as we get ready for the mulligan screen. And see what Gnimsh picks. It is the Miracle Rogue. Or, sorry, it's the Rogue, but we don't know if it's Miracle. But we can assume it's Miracle Rogue. Gnimsh really likes Miracle Rogue.
Yep, and here it is. Ooh, a Cold Light Oracle.
Okay, so he's still playing this Cold Light. You know, I talked to him about this at I Am Shenzhen, saying, why do you really like this Cold Light? You know, why can't you just kind of go through some of the other stuff? But Gnimsh says that as much as he likes RNG and being able to, you know, fish for the gadgets and whatnot, he says that he wants to just kind of at least still continue pushing for the draws. It's a card that he feels like is stable enough for Miracle Rogue to accept, and he says he feels comfortable with it. So it's a stylistic choice. I don't think necessarily you could say it's wrong, but you could make a case that it's a little outdated.
Yeah, that's something I want to touch on too with a lot of just Hearthstone plays in general, is that it's really hard to define things as right or wrong plays until you get to the points where it's like you have two very distinct paths to take. Plays are often a grading scale. It's like, did you score 100%, a 90%, 80%, etc.? Like you can be 80% correct. That's a fine position to be in. The thing about it is that professional players are so often putting up the high number of percentage correctness that's where they're finding their edge in these games. That's why they're able to win so consistently. So a lot of times in Hearthstone,
that's a cool analogy, man.
When you feel like that you're making a right or wrong play, a lot of times the difference is just being able to make a 100% play or make a 90% play, and so on and so forth. So a Cold Light Oracle, again, as you were saying, it's like a stylistic choice, that's one of the reasons why we have so many different opinions in Hearthstone, is because of things like style. And this very true to Gnimsh's style. He wants board control immediately.
I'm just thinking about that one post where the guy was trying to like talk trash after a random like a game where he lost, and he like insulted his opponent, like talked about his mother and his family, and then said "get style done" right afterwards. Do you remember that?
I don't.
Please tell me you remember. Okay. Well, I'm gonna show it to you right afterwards because it was hilarious. And for a while, like every time I beat some of my friends when I was practicing with them, I would just tell them "get style done."
You beat people?
Once in a while, man, it happens. Anything can happen, right?
I feel that way sometimes.
There's room for the first black president of the United States. There's times where I win a Hearthstone game. These things happen.
Monumental moments.
Yeah.
Deadly Force likely going to be coming out here, but I don't know if he's going to use it this turn or the following turn. It looks like he wants to get his 4/4 Van Cleef. And the other thing that's important is he just drew that Blade Fury. And that's going to be able to sweep out these Feral Spirits. And since Semi is on 3 mana this turn, I think it's very likely he's going to use Feral Spirits this turn. But I'm really happy with Toteming as well. I think Toteming is very acceptable. Something you want to look forward to is that you want to be able to play this Azure Drake. You also want to be able to play your Fire Elemental. So he's really got a lot of curve considerations coming in to this turn. If he plays this Feral Spirit, he's not going to be able to play Azure Drake. If he has to Lightning Bolt the next turn, then he won't be able to play Fire Elemental, but then he will be able to play Azure Drake. This is kind of a tough turn where he's really got to be thinking forward in order to make sure that he's not overloading his mana in turns where he needs to be playing certain spells. So I actually like Totem Pass. It keeps your options
open. Yeah, I think so too. And I think I like keeping Feral Spirits as a way to reload and really disrupt the rogue too. Because one of the most annoying things is that if you play it and then all of a sudden Deadly Poison goes 1-for-1 in terms of the card value, and then you're able to, and the stalling isn't really existent at that point. Versus if you use a Deadly Poison charge now, and he's gonna have to come up short for 3 damage because it's a little tricky, right? You have to, you really don't have ways to comfortably do 3 damage without the Deadly Poison. You have to eviscerate or the backstab SI7 in order to get rid of the wolves. So I think using it retroactively when you kind of have the ability to disrupt your opponent is really good.
Something interesting is that he actually attacks his Taunt Totem here, and I think the reason he attacks it is because he wants to keep himself safe against Flame Tongue Totem. If his opponent's just got a Flame Tongue Totem, he can't kill his Van Cleef. But if he does have the Taunt Totem out, now he's able to trade for the Van Cleef for basically free. It's just small investments of mana that he wasn't going to play anything relevant otherwise. So a pretty heads-up play there from Gnimsh, I think.
All right. Well, Semijew, by the way, has kind of messed up his curve for turn 5. He'll have 4 mana, but at least he gets rid of, I guess, a creature that he felt like he was able to easily trade with his Violet Teacher, so he didn't want to kind of make it worthless. Plus, he puts a 1/1 out to kind of disrupt his opponent. Yeah,
this next turn's pretty much identical. Well, he's got the Doomhammer, so I don't know. Maybe it's going to change a little bit, but his turn 6 is effectively a turn 5. So he's pretty straightforward, and one of his 2 options that he has, and I cannot imagine not eviscerating here unless he really wants to try to trick his opponent into getting a bad turn with that Blade Fury. But he does have preparation as well, so he may consider saving for like another couple of turns. But I certainly think it's best to eviscerate. I would very hard pressed to not find an eviscerate here.
Yeah. I think so. It just represents way too much, especially because of what Violet Teachers can do in Shaman. The assortment of spells they have in combination with the burst, you just don't want to kind of underestimate it whatsoever.
Right. Do you like Azure Drake or Doomhammer here?
I like the Azure Drake just because, again, you want to play the Fire Elemental, you play the Doomhammer, you're going to be on 5-mana following turn. You could play the Drake as well, but the Drake gets you the card now. The Doomhammer, you could be racking in damage, but I don't think you have a foreseeable, like, 4 to 5 turn lethal plan at the moment. You just kind of have to see what your opponent's doing because he still hasn't shown some of the strongest potential yet with the gadget stand. So I think playing the Drake now based on the curve is pretty decent.
Here we go. I actually want to see preparation first. I don't like leading with the with the Cold Blood here because if he draws a conceal off of this, he's going to be really upset. Like because now where does he go? Is he just pass? Like does he preparate? He's got a preparation here. He needs to start cycling through his cards.
Oh,
you know
wow.
what? This is actually, I think this is okay too. What he's saying with this play is that he doesn't really value the damage from Leroy as being super important. He just wants to start cycling through his deck. So he doesn't feel like he's pressured on his life total, which may come back to haunt him here because you're going to see a big swing on the board. He's going to need to draw something like Backstab. But this Auctioneer costing 3 matters a lot because now he gets to draw more cards with it next turn. So what he's doing here is he's actually battling for card advantage. He's not battling for just straight up damage from his opponent. So if this is the play he's going to make, I think this is fine. But I assumed he was going to preparation into something. But the Shadow Step, it seems like a totally fine play to me. And now this is really interesting. I don't know why you wouldn't just jam the Fire Elemental here. This seems like the perfect turn to play Fire Elemental.
Yeah, I think it showed like a sign of desperation. In fact, that he couldn't respond immediately to the Azure Drake. And that means if he had Eviscerate number 2, then he probably used it in respect.
Right.
I think so too, because if he had the sap, then the sap would come out.
Oh my
a backstab.
gosh.
That's what he needed. And then he doesn't even have to use Deadly
Oh
Poison.
my gosh. I don't like this play.
Whoa.
I don't like this lead. I think he should have poisoned and Blade Flurried into backstabbing the 2/1 token. I think he did this a little bit backwards.
Well, I think he wants to save the second Deadly Poison though. Because now he can get declared anyways.
Do you think he has a
regardless
second?
of whether or not he uses it.
Do you think he has a second Blade Flurry in his deck?
Oh, well, he also even has SI7 agent here.
So he wanted to develop the SI7 agent over using the poison. I'm okay with that as well. You know, your opponent didn't play Fire Elemental last turn, so developing the 3/3 actually makes a lot of sense.
Right. He had the opportunity to clean board Fire Elemental, so maybe you're reading he doesn't have it, in which Semijew does have it, and the mind games continue. So he says he's going to go for the hero power clear instead and cycle through.
That's really interesting.
Okay. Many decisions. It seems like he's taking an alternative route.
What is he playing around here? I'm a little bit confused.
Well, I mean, I guess he still doesn't want to give away the 3/3 to a Fire Elemental. It just feels like, why else would you not play it in that respect?
I feel like if that's your play, then you're supposed to use the second Deadly Poison just to dig through your deck. Because now if he wants to use the second Deadly Poison, he's going to have to dagger up again, or he's going to have to lose one of the charges.
Well, the consequence is about the same either way. You would lose one of the charges relative to using it before. I guess you're right in the sense that would you want to keep it versus and have the ability to use it in a different capacity.
Yeah.
If you want to use it and weapon up right afterwards.
That's a tough turn.
But I think what you're trying to refer to is just kind of like a decision whether or not he wanted to keep it and use it later.
This is one of the reasons why he wanted to keep it, by the way, is in case something like this came out.
Right.
So, you know, perhaps my perhaps my instinct is wrong. I
understand what you're saying.
I just like drawing cards.
He still hasn't found a way to, basically he hasn't found his win condition yet still. His opponent's at 23. He doesn't really have any semblance of board control. He does have a second Gadget Zan, though, to get chain draws going, but at the same time, it seems like Shaman's being able to kind of weather the storm at a pretty high health, and they're not going to be afraid of getting lethal anytime soon.
Right. This is another tough turn. You just Earthen Ring here, you think? Like Dagger, Poison, Earthen Ring?
Yeah, I think you got to start. Well, you got to certainly start working on the board. You kind of got to put something out. You don't really have a good follow up to Gadget Stand either.
You know what? I actually don't.
Good.
I think he's going to go for SI on the totem here, or maybe poke one of these guys and SI the other one.
This guy's toast.
Yeah, he's just going to redagger and pass. I'm okay with either one. Like I'm okay with killing off one of the Feral Spirits with the poke on your dagger and the SI7 agent, and I'm also okay with clearing out the healing totem.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is more susceptible to something like a Lightning Storm, but then you feel like if you draw into something like Conceal anyways, then your Gadget Stand's a little safer.
Yep.
All right, well, Fire Elemental does come out from Semijew. The stream apparently had him down, so we're going to stick on Gnimsh's POV.
And this is another tough spot. If you do something like Earthshock, does he kill it here?
Yeah, I think you just got to, again, take away the tools from Miracle Rogue is really important. You're going to use one Shadow Step.
Yep.
And more importantly, if you keep up that SI7 agent, then it can potentially take out another one of those wolves. And I think every wolf really does matter.
Yeah.
Taking away damage. You always point this out in all of your casts. There's limited damage in the Miracle deck.
Yep.
And the further you dig through it and force him out of it, then the less options he has to end. And it forces him into a position where he has to use things where he doesn't want to, right? He's using deadly poisons where he doesn't want to. He's using these backstabs to push through inefficiently. And it kind of just throws Miracle Rogue in a loop.
Oh, one more mana.
Mm-hmm.
He could have gotten a lot of work done this turn. Instead, he uses the backstab simply to draw a card, but that's good. He wants to, again, he needs to cycle through his deck, and he has to find a way to get board position. So this backstab, it's kind of inconsequential that he's quote-unquote wasting it. And if he's got another piece of damage in his hand, which he certainly does, another Earthshock. And now Gnimsh may find himself in kind of a bad spot. His opponent's at 23. If this is a taunt totem, he's going to be really upset. Oh! That's 2 less damage he gets to use elsewhere. Oh! He picks up
Well, he does have Fan Knives. Yeah. With the Thanos. Let's see what he can get off this. He doesn't have that many cards left, so he's sitting on about 8 cards. Let's see what he can dig through the rest. Second Fan of Knives. Control a little low.
Yeah, you got to use the Fan of Knives here.
Yeah. And you could even take out the Fire Elemental without even touching it, which is nice.
Yep.
4 cards left.
He's got to put together.
I kind of discounted. I forgot about the draws.
He's got to put together 23 points of damage with those 4 cards, by the way.
He's already used his Van Cleef. He's already used both Gadget Sands. He's going to be looking at doing damage with a pair of low damage dealers and Leroy.
Here we go.
I like attacking here because he's got to put together 24 points of damage or 23 points of damage. So he needs every single dagger swing he can get right now.
You know how big of a difference that taunt totem that forced the 2 damage versus, or even being able to get that 3 extra damage in.
Yeah.
In other words,
it makes a really big difference.
Being at 17 as opposed to just 20 would have been so huge. Well, that's right. The Doomhammer comes out.
I think he's just going to try to make a push for actually running his opponent out of stuff to do.
Yeah, at one point Miracle Rogue just only is left with the hero power to kind of do stuff.
There's Leroy.
All right, Leroy. So then he's going to be on his second to last card here.
I'm almost out of cards.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, it's an Azure Drake. Whoa. Wait. Maybe if he's able to use something with Conceal,
I think you have.
Maybe he can pull it back.
You're going to have to conceal your Drake here. Here's a question: does he need the damage from this cold light oracle that much to take so much damage from it?
I think it dies either way the same to Lightning Storm. And it's just a liability, isn't it?
He's got to play the Azure Drake. I don't think there's any question about that.
Yes. It's a very tough position. He's just basically relegated to whether or not his opponent has Lightning Storm.
I think you play the Cold Light Oracle and eat the damage from it, because if your opponent makes a taunt totem, that might be one of the only ways you can chew through it. Actually,
he got the farce.
Now that his last card's running farce here, that changes a lot of things.
That changes everything.
Yeah,
he wouldn't be able to fit
you
everything.
dagger, attack here, and then you preparation to conceal.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and a big reveal shows that Semijew has 2 Flame Tongues. So he has, he could do 4 with...
He's got 10 damage.
He's got 10 damage, and if he drew into something like Doomhammer, it still wouldn't be enough. Or sorry, Rockbiter for the Doomhammer.
You got to dagger up and attack here in preparation to conceal. Like, you're not going to get value out of this preparation, and you need the point of damage. You need every point of damage you can get right now.
Definitely.
I think that's going to be...
Oh, man. Semijew needs to draw something big like a Lightning Storm right now.
Hex.
Oh, he gets a Hex.
That's not
going to do it.
Wait. Okay,
he
so
might have to hex his
he makes
own
a taunt
minion.
totem and he hexes his own minion. What does that give him?
Oh!
2 taunts. So dagger comes out, and then sap comes out. Oh, it's not going to be enough. He's going to be just short.
Wow, so he's going to go for the damage, and then the double Flame Tongue totems, and Gnimsh is going to start taking fatigue damage.
Yep, and that's going to be game. He's got lethal. Sap onto this totem. 12 from Leroy. 7 on the board. Wow. Very well played by Gnimsh.
Oh. So at this stage, Gnimsh was down to his very last cards, and we thought that maybe he was going to draw short of damage, but being able to pick up those 2 minions late in the deck was so clutch for Gnimsh.
Yep. That last Earthen Ring Farseer really made a difference. He needed an extra body, and that's exactly what he got. And Miracle pulls the Miracle once again. Game 2 going to Gnimsh. Now the series tied 1-1. Can Semijew answer Miracle?
Well, actually, if he had the Cold Light Oracle and was able to do the damage with that anyways, then the Farseer wouldn't have actually made that difference, I believe.
Was he at -1?
Yes, he was at -1. We're almost ready for the game and see what's going to happen, what Semijew is going to pick. As right now the series is tied 1-1. It's down to a best of 3 for these final 3 games, potentially. Gnimsh is pulling out the fan already for moral support. He picked that up at the IEM Shenzhen Anime Comic-Con in China, and he was so comfortable because he is a big otaku and he loves anime, so I think he's feeling in the zone. He won a game. He's not in danger of getting swept, and he just won when the situation looked pretty dire.
Yeah. This is also kind of interesting. It's a token druid with Nerubian Wedlord, or Nerebar Weblord. So sort of an interesting choice there. I wonder why that's included in the deck.
It could be his anti-miracle tech, right? To kind of at least you slam it down. I mean, you mulligan away, so clearly you want it later in the game. So maybe if you feel like Leroy is about to come out, you slam it down. Meanwhile, it doesn't really affect your own minions. You have the choose mechanic instead of battle cry. So Ancient of Lore, Druid of the Claw, Keeper of the Grove, they're not affected whatsoever, even though they have these effects, right, that immediately come out.
Right. Wow, Auctioneer's already in the hand too, with a preparation.
With preparation.
This game,
but he has
could get
Innervase.
dangerous.
Okay, all right, guys.
there's the Haunted Creeper. A little bit more pressure coming out. Token seems to be really popular so far in this tournament.
I think so. I think because, again, these minions that are small but annoying and have a lot of flexibility, like the Haunted Creeper and the Ruby and Eggs, it just gives you a lot of insurance to have good board presence.
Oh
and you have things to kind of just build in it. It's going to be really powerful.
Look at this play. Preparation. Get the 1/1s on the board. Fan and Eyes, clear them out. Draw a card. Wow. That's a pretty big turn from Miracle coming out. Because now he's got the 3/3 advantage. And his
you have to play against the token as if it's an aggro deck. A lot of people kind of really confuse that. When they see Druids still playing, they still assume like the mid-range, like, oh, I still have maybe a turn or two. You still have to really treat it seriously like an aggro deck sometimes. When it gets the power of the wild and puts things out of range, then you're just really slapping your own head onto the desk. You're face palming because you realize now you don't have an opportunity to board clear. So I think Gnimsh is taking the threats very seriously. He realizes he has Cold Light Oracle to also push through cards in case his Guided Sand can't get going. I think this is a decision where he says, I'm going to be very determined to be the control player and make sure to deny my opponent any way for getting a weird way for sneaking in combo damage and end the game early.
Yeah, this is a really weak turn here from Semijew, by the way. What on earth do you do here? Do you just make a 3/2? I think that's what you do. Because your other option is to coin swipe, and then your other option is to coin keeper and innervate hero power, which none of these plays are very good. I'm okay with just holding too. I don't mind this because this sets up for next turn for your Keeper of the Grove. So this is a less than exciting play. Oh, he's actually going to go for face instead.
Fake out. Okay.
Ah, gosh, that's a rough turn. I don't. And now when you're in Gnimsh's position, I want to clarify this. Gnimsh is aware that his opponent has coin, and he didn't play anything on turn 4.
Right.
Does this mean his hand is really clunky, or does this mean his hand is really bad?
Or situational, right? Maybe he has Force of Nature and a Savage Roars, and he has nothing else.
Right. Do you Cold Light Oracle and Cold Blood here?
Hey, lights.
Oof. I mean, the damage is going to get in anyway, but if you're going to be playing as a control player, I don't think you do that, right? He's already shown that he wants to just control the board. And if you kind of put the Cold Blood as if you're back in the driver's seat when you don't actually have a guaranteed way of setting up lethal in the following turns, I think it's a little bit reckless. I don't know what you think about that, but also because he didn't attack the face he didn't attack the SI7 with the face because he wanted to use Innervate for the Ancient of Lore. So no matter what, the Keeper of the Grove wasn't coming out, and it's kind of inconsequential to attack face and take 3 damage recklessly.
Curious. It's a pretty rough turn. But now, wow, look at this. He's just got the response to every single turn.
Yeah.
Wow, a second Eviscerate.
That's going to be very useful against the Druid of the Claw.
If he finds a Conceal, this is going to be a really tough game. for Semijew to climb out of. Or even if he finds another preparation.
Well, Semijew picks up a Wrath.
Wow. His draws continue to get like more and more awkward and difficult. Because I feel like he wants to taunt this Druid of the Claw, but at the same time he wants the Wrath. I actually really like Wrath in 3-2.
Yeah, I think that's just the best way to do it to answer the board because, again, if you play the Druid of the Claw, one, if you put it as a way to trade for a 4/4 into the 3/3, then your opponent can deal with it super easy with like a Shiv.
I don't mind the big game hunter.
And if you also put it as a taunt, then it gives an ability to respond to it easily.
Yeah, I don't mind the big game hunter here either, because it's really tough for you to find a significant big game hunter target in this matchup.
Yeah.
Your opponent has to commit to a big bank leaf or have a cold blood on the board. So
Yeah, very
one of two
rare.
things has happened. Number one, you've taken 7 points of damage from a cold blooded minion, or your opponent has committed to an 8/8 Van Cleef, would usually they'll only commit to a 6/6. So I think both of those are pretty big anomalies. The only problem here is when you play this big game hunter, now your opponent's able to commit to a big Van Cleef if they want to.
This is still a little bit tough because you ideally want to kill it off, and again, to be consistent with what Gnimsh has been thinking, he wants to just deny his opponent any opportunity to sneak in damage.
Yeah.
So he's instead opting to get to play the Cold Light Oracle instead of a normal 5-drop, and probably see pick up SI7 agent. Which is what he's looking for.
And a backstab!
Nice.
This is really bad news for
Very,
Semijew.
very massive pickups. Yeah.
This is really bad news.
He said he was saving his RNG, and I can see why, because he needed that exact card right there.
Azure Drake's not the pickup you want right now. He's got a response to it, but the problem with this response is that your opponent just has everything.
Yeah, how do you fight against it? How do you defend against everything, right?
You
As
don't.
a famous Artosis
Yeah.
quote once said. It says, how do I defeat everything? No?
Well, that's like asking, oh my gosh, and he picked up preparation too!
Whoa. Okay. The Eviscerate.
Ooh, I think this is a bit of a sequencing error. I think he should have backstabbed first, because he wants to find Conceal this turn, right?
Right. Does that mean he has the Cold Blood? But then, that feels so weak.
Yeah, he's just gonna rather play the Blood Major Dagger here.
Sure.
Which, I don't like playing the Blood Mage now, because you have the Azure Drake to go with it, so you actually have a potential
damage backstab.
Yeah, you
Get out of here.
have 7 points of damage on the minion next. Or if your opponent
my.
has 2, you can basically kill both of them.
Wow, he's really a big fan of shadow stepping these gadget stands, despite having a couple of ways to draw cards following it up.
Yeah. I'm not surprised by that because he's already done it once in this matchup, but it certainly is a much different style than a lot of players play. Like it's 6 points of damage that you're conceding, but it's very consistent again with what you were talking about, how he's committed so much to controlling the board that he wants to continue down that route.
And he's also kind of whittled his opponent to 22. It's again, if you can kind of just get it down to the ranges where maybe an Azure Drake sneaks in a hit and he gets down to like the high teens, as you see, all you need is that one shadow step plus whatever you have, and he still has that Cold Blood, right? So he has a way to kind of sneak into damage. He's not losing. It's not the end of the world for him, even though it does kind of sting.
Right.
Looks like Gnimsh's stream actually went down, so we're gonna stay on Semijew's point of view for a second. But you do see that he does have combo already. He picked up Force of Nature, which is really big, but at the same time, the Rogue's been doing such a good job at staying at a high health count that it's really difficult to kind of be able to benefit off of this.
This is that 4-point backstab that we were talking about. That one stings a bit.
It's a deadly poison as well, and then you just be able to start attacking face.
I don't know if do you
Start
deadly poison
building
here
up.
with the 3-cost Auctioneer in your hand?
Oh, that's true. That is true. But then you're also waiting. But then you also have 5 damage represented, but then you kind of expect a swipe in response.
I
think you do.
He's starting to move for damage now.
I think you do hold it, but I can't blame him for trying to put it on right now because we don't even know what he drew off the top. Maybe he has Leroy already.
Right. This is a tough turn for Semijew, and this is sort of one of the reasons why Cold Light Oracle works so well. Sometimes is against decks like Druid, they find themselves with 30 points of mana of stuff in their hand. They just can't use it all. So like you're actually using all your stuff while your opponent ends up dying with 20 points of mana in their hand. So the 2 cards you gave them off the Cold Light Oracle gave them options, but it's so inconsequential in terms of how much actual mana is being used.
I got the best deals anywhere.
Well, the guy's stand does come out. He has 6 more mana to play with. See what he just top decked because it looks like he wants to use it. I believe he also still has second Eviscerate, right?
Yeah, the other
Or did
Eviscerate.
he already use it?
I believe
Okay.
he still had Eviscerate in his hand.
So he has ways to kind of start the change, just deciding which is the best course of action. And either way, no matter what, if it comes back on turn 9 for Semijew, he doesn't have a way to kind of really employ the combo. He's got lots of way to rack the damage, even charge with the Savage Roar on the Druid of the Claw, but he's still several turns away from being able to do damage, and that's assuming his opponent doesn't play things like Farseer.
Innervate looks like one of the best cards he can draw right now.
Yeah, just to squeeze out stuff and get it out of the way.
The more important thing is on turn 10, he can double combo. So that's 20,
right, for 22
points damage.
22.
Yeah. So if he draws an Innervate here, expect this Druid of the Claw to get taunted up. Oh my gosh, and there's an
All right, the BGH has been used to
conceal
out! Whoa! Okay, I think Semijew is in huge trouble. I don't know if there's anything you can do from here. There's no way. He doesn't have Poison Seeds. Where's your Poison Seeds, bro?
He's got to draw Innervate next turn and 22 his opponent. That's the only way he's going to win.
Yeah, he needs to be really passive. I think you put Druid the Claw in taunt mode, attack him, see what you can kind of do, but just put your head in the sand and hope for the best. Because at this stage, he's got nothing against this. This is kind of exactly what Poison Seeds was designed to do, by the way, right? Just to kind of reach through.
That's what
and affect the board.
You know, I tried to use that card though. It's actually pretty tough to use. Ooh.
It is. It's not very applicable. It is situational.
Oh, I don't know if this is right or not because now even if you don't Innervate, if your opponent can clear your stuff and you don't have Innervate, you can't actually even kill your opponent. So you give them another turn. I think you got it. I think you have to go for it this turn. And there's sap. That's brutal.
The sap. And Gnimsh is going to take game 3, it looks like, unless he really whiffed on every one of his draws. But with Guided Sand out and about at the Cold Blood,
I mean,
I think
he's got a situation, right?
That's right. The game's over here. I think you're right that Semijew should have also attacked, by the way, to at least increase his chances to draw into the Innervate for the win. But the Haunted Creepers also do tend to stick around, so maybe his thought was use Power of the Wild as best as he can, set up the strongest line of defense possible.
Yeah, but what can you? That's a miracle, man. When it puts together some damage, and that's gonna be game 3.
Because I think apparently we're gonna skip the mulligan
Yeah,
screen.
the players are already underway.
Okay.
So, a little bit of missed stuff. Oh, never mind. Yeah. So, looks like
it is the zoo. It is the zoos.
Why did he mulligan the Voidwalker?
He wants to coin out the spiders on turn 1, I guess. And then it fits the curve. Oh, well, I guess the Amani Berserker.
Yeah, this will get through a little bit extra damage too.
Sure.
If your opponent has like backstab and then the dagger, they can just start poking. So I actually think it's a little bit better. This will force your opponent to take 5 damage if they want to use a backstab.
That's true. That's fair. It's fair. I generally like the stickiest minions to go first, just because it's you're able to it disincentivizes them from being able to use a removal right there. But I guess either way it makes sense.
Yeah, they're both sticky minions in a certain way. Either force your opponent to take damage or it's just getting into anyway.
Yeah, being annoying as possible.
Yep.
Okay, so Gnimsh gonna respond immediately with a deadly poison. Semijew does have curve pretty nicely with the one minion pickup with the Flame Imp and has turns 3 and 4 mapped out, but he does have double Soulfire, which we showed that is pretty annoying for the Zoo player if they need to kind of decide between keeping some really valuable cards.
Shattered Sun Cleric's going to get through a little bit more damage here, but I actually would like to see Harvest Golem. Because your opponent's going to be using their Dagger Charge either way.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this opens you a little bit to backstab, or as we saw Gnimsh do in one of the games where he actually preparationed into SI7 Agent into Fan and Knives. Like that's a possibility as well, but I think the Harvest Golem long term gets you a little bit more damage, and now we finally get a glimpse of Gnimsh's hand.
Whoa, double prep
Oh my
conceal.
God!
Are you kidding me? Does it get any better than this?
I mean, I guess you could have a Fan
of
and Knives.
Leroy, he has a Leroy, so that way he has like a way to just finish it if he sees it, and a second deadly poison too. So he's got a lot of stuff going on. And I think that also makes it all the more reason why Semijew's choice of the Harvest Golem, like you recommended, was absolutely the right play, because it makes his life so much more difficult, because you don't really remove anything by attacking. You're just taking damage and making it. In fact, in some cases, if you attack the spider, you're making more damage back at yourself.
Oh my
following
gosh.
turn.
I don't know. I don't know how Semi's going to put together winning combinations of cards when you look at it from this perspective. My goodness.
Wow.
He's just going
All
for
right, so
face.
he's just gonna weapon up.
Yes.
All right.
This is awesome.
He says I'm not gonna play your game.
Man, this is a lot of damage now, though.
We must cleanse the sun well.
And
So
cards that are becoming increasingly hard
These
to remove.
next couple of cards that Gnimsh is going to draw are going to make all the difference in the world. If he finds a Fan of Knives off these preparations, this is really bad news for Semi.
Well, he has
Also-
sap. That's nice too. Sapping a 3 or 4 mana creature at zoo is really difficult for them to still deal with, especially if they have things like Doomguard, because they're going to be tossing it right back away.
Imagine the Harvest Golem's going back. Yeah.
Yep. Shadow Step.
Step. He's putting together a lot of damage.
Yes.
And you're going to see Conceal here.
Ooh, and a backstab.
Woo! He reached that back.
So he's got a way to shorten that 3 damage. Second backstab! Are you kidding me? This is the Gnimsh that we've missed for a long time. Just being able to get everything he needs.
Oh my gosh. Do you hold the Fan of Knives here for the backstab next turn?
You mean the other way around?
Like you backstab next turn, so you don't take any
Yeah.
damage from this
Yeah.
spider?
Yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah.
No, he's just going for it. He realizes he's got enough stuff here to put together a winning combinations of cards from his opponent. So the only thing he's concerned with is completely stemming enough damage. Because if his opponent does something like Defender of Argus, it might be able to put up a little bit of a fight. So he is just he's reducing any risk that there is associated with that, and he's just going to push forward. This is wow.
Yeah,
Sorry.
this was a big miss of a power turn as well. Like turn 5 is usually where you find out whether or not he has Doomguard, and you have to spend almost everything removing it. Maybe sometimes even your own Gadget Sand, and you're back to square one where you don't really have that much, and he can Soulfire and impose his way back on. But
Yep.
I think at this stage, Gnimsh feels so confident. He has everything what he needs to basically put away the zoo game right here.
I imagine this Eviscerate's
God,
going
he
to
does
be
so many
pointed.
draws.
Yeah,
He's
I
got
imagine.
everything.
I imagine this Eviscerate's going towards a Harvest Golem, and then you.
I mean,
Okay,
yeah,
so-
you can have the Gadget Sand push it through, and then Fan of Knives and trade everything.
You attack the Harvest Golem
Here we
with.
go.
I guess you attack it with your weapon first. I think he should really take his time with this sequence because this is a turn where I think you can reduce a lot of the damage that you could take, and I think that attack was made a little bit in haste.
Okay. Well, the Fan of Knives with the Gadget Stand attack does a full clear.
He was going to attack that. Yep, and then Fan of Knives is going to come out.
Okay. And again, that's just the objective
This-
of Zoo, or the objective of Miracle every turn. Just clear Zoo's board every time.
With this line of play, he couldn't have prevented taking 1 point of damage, but I think there was a different sequence to effectively get the exact same thing. Like you could have attacked the Direwolf Alpha, and then you could have attacked the Auctioneer into another guy, and then you could have Fan of Knives after the shiv. I guess he doesn't clear that way.
Yeah, I think one of the Death Rattles would have stayed around though.
He also has to use his
That-
Eviscerate that way.
Yeah.
There's a
that's
lot of
true.
different ways to play that turn, and
And
honestly,
I don't know if he would actually have the mana to do that either.
Yeah, I don't think they all matter too much. Honestly, the different lines, like they all accomplish the same thing.
Oh man, if that was already an insult to injury, the juggle goes into the Gadget Stand. So that was a 4/7 Gadget Stand.
Yeah, this is a pretty tough spot to be in.
Full hand for the Miracle
Semijew.
Rogue. Answers for days. I have to kind of imagine, you have to think of what are the ways that Zoo can kill you from this point. He has to kind of pick up massive damage, and so you want to find a way to clear the board and then find a way to kind of set up for lethal the following turn. You have Leroy, you have Shadow Step, so that's 12 for the following turn, and you kind of count your way down from there.
He could just like close his eyes and click buttons and win this game.
This is where you blindfold, right? And you turn on the stream, and then you kind of put it on the header of Twitch saying that you're playing blindfolded games. And you can kind of get away with it, right?
That's what it feels like. Yeah, he's gonna play Van Cleef here.
Yeah. I mean, anything he does at this point, his opponent is really difficult to play 14 damage off the top.
You know, if he
you
plays
need
Van
to have-
Cleef, if he plays Van Cleef here, the only sequence of cards he can lose to is Leroy and 2 Power Overwhelmings.
Into, yeah.
But his
Shot-
opponent doesn't even have mana for his opponent's got 7 mana, right? He doesn't even have mana for Leroy and 2.
No,
Power
he
Overwhelmings.
doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's going to be it. The Doomguard finally comes, but it's really late. Normally, you want to kind of force it way earlier onto the Miracle Rogue, but now Semijew looks like he's this series is done for him. He's going to drop to loser's bracket 1-3. Gnimsh is able to pull it out despite losing the first game. And now, Semijew will...
Oh, he's not going to life tap.
He's going to pass.
6-18. He's looking at 21 points of damage. Gnimsh is 1 damage off lethal.
Oh my god. 1 damage off lethal. Yeah, I think...
I actually think this is Semi's best line because he has to have his opponent not kill.
Oh,
wow.
Lethaled himself in response to it. I mean, I'm pretty
sure it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Gnimsh had it either way, but now it's guaranteed. I think you can't really blame him. At this stage, he's just trying to figure out what is his best chance to win. You know, is he going to be able to do 9 damage the following turns? But Gnimsh has the way to win right now, and he's going to take the series 3-1. Well played.
GG to Gnimsh. And this is Miracle at its finest. Just miracling all over people's faces, drawing 1,000,000 cards, dealing 1,000,000 damage, killing all your minions in the process. Is there anything this deck can't do?
Lose?